I'm curious, what were your objections to ontology and metaphysics? And because I feel like I might kind of share them, having just finished my philosophy degree and having taken
Peter's phrase at the time, and I think he would still stand by it, we'll let him confirm, was metaphysics just say no. But it's that if you're coming at philosophy from a perspective where empiricism means anything, metaphysics is right outside of that realm. And so what often happens is that you end up with philosophers, if you want my particular critique of it, who get bogged down in arguing about the ontology of various ideas. They want to say, oh, do mathematical objects exist? In what way do they exist? Right. What does that existence mean? And our friend Daniel Dennett wrote a very important, I think, but not well-read piece in philosophy about something he called chess, like chess with an M added into it, to indicate that people like to kind of play in these other worlds that don't really connect to reality. And his point was that that's interesting, but it produces work of no abiding significance. And so we're very, I have a very kind of complicated view of metaphysics and what metaphysics' role should be, but I don't particularly find those questions to be interesting beyond an academic level. And it gets annoying. For example, I was speaking with the president of the Southern Baptist Convention earlier today on a podcast, and he wanted to know how I ground my morals objectively as somebody who is an atheist. And I've been asked many times, like, well, if you're an atheist, how do you have logic if you can't ground the idea of logic in the logos and in the body of Christ or whatever? And it's like, what are you talking about? Just what are you talking about? Right. How is this helping anything? And so it feels to me that it generates a lot of very tangential conversations that are not particularly necessary. It does, by the way, relate to what I think we'll talk about if we talk about wokeness, because they have their own metaphysic that people have not yet really cleanly pinned down. And I'm working on that now to try to understand what it is. But I think it's like, it's a way it's intellectual masturbation for the most part. It's vaguely interesting, but a distraction from more meaningful and important questions, especially in philosophy, which should be guiding us into how to live a reflective, thoughtful, informed life.
Yeah, and part of the problem, Coleman, is that I see people have subscribed certainty, and they've made these, apodictic pronouncements about what they consider to be veridical propositions. Oh my God, that sounded so academic. I didn't mean to sound like that. But so basically they've over-ascribed certainty to propositions about the world. And the way to know and understand those things is not through abstract speculation. It's through science, through evidence. You can't reason your way to certain empirical propositions. I mean, people try it in theoretical physics, and then they look for empirical confirmation of that. I had a great conversation with my friend Lawrence Krauss about how that's accomplished. But the concern that I had was that we're teaching people things. What is the ultimate nature of the universe or what have you? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just a bad question. Just putting a question word in front of a bunch of other words doesn't make it a legitimate question. And Jim was absolutely correct. One of the most underappreciated pieces in all of philosophy is Daniel Dennett's piece, Chemess, and it'd be great if you could link that in the YouTube section. And Jim and I have published something in Russell Blackford's The Problem of Philosophy, and I think that's a very important idea that you want to pursue. Philosophy ought to pursue questions of abiding significance, and too many people just trying to think of a less vulgar way to say it. I can't, but just intellectually masturbate around ideas that are completely untethered to reality. And the answers, it's like what Gilbert Ryle calls a category mistake. People are looking at philosophy to solve questions that is best solved through science. People have done that through religion too, but it's, in a sense, it's less excusable in philosophy.